Guys. Okay, we are live. As you see, watch out. All bets are off. He's got a whiteboard. And we are telling you B12 is not vegan, first and foremost. And we have a few pointers up here I'm going to be going into as we go on through the stream tonight. So I'm back in this little professional room that I have. We're going to be hitting chapter 11 of the compilation of history, names, people, places, everything that just exposes the B12 lie book called The Enigma of Vitamin B12, Nature's Only Mistake, written by Anthea V. Hayes. Tonight, we hit chapter 11, which is titled Cobalt, Arsenic, Cobalamin, and the Microbiome of the Vulture. Now, I'll be candid with you. I didn't do too much due diligence in reading ahead. I've already read the chapter twice since I've read the book. I have now read the book twice, but it's not too fresh as far as how I was going to present with the live stream. So I'm going to kind of read some excerpts from the beginning. We'll go touch on cobalt, and we'll touch on how they leverage that and are still using that and have still managed to brainwash all these vegans and non-vegans into thinking that we need this very harmful thing, really. But I feel like figured we can wait till we get about 10 people in here. If you're just getting here, hello. My name's James. I'm an animal rights activist. I was just out there tonight. Go out once a week. I did an express tonight, so only had a few people. Shadow in the house, what's going on? How you doing, Shadow? I'm glad to see you appreciated my piano playing. Hey, if I can make this channel stand out from the other vegan channels, that's what we got to do. But I'm glad you like that one. Only going to get better, you know. One of the pillars of my channel, me and Will did a live stream on it. Probably about 4 live streams back was on creativity and how important creativity is, and just to do and learn and kind of express how you want to express in this embodied life. So I was actually just thinking about it on the way home, how I need to put myself through a lesson tonight. I'm just teaching myself. I don't need to do anything crazy, go through any class, just learn, you know. So you can just learn things. You don't need anything, any kind of academic structure. You don't need any kind of teacher. You just learn it, you know. Hi, Yanni, how are you? I don't think I've seen you here before. Nice to see you. And welcome everybody to the live stream. Yeah, as you can see, B12, it's not vegan. It's not vegan. I don't know if everybody knows that, but the spirit of these live streams is to educate all of us so we can grow and we can learn as compassionate vegans and know that as a vegan, we don't want to support a system of violence. And the whole B12 gamut is a system of violence. And as vegans, we don't support systems of violence. So we're going to be touching on the chapter on cobalt tonight, which is an absolute terrible thing to put into your body. I just can't believe that, you know, we're carrying this on. I mean, the verdict's in, everybody. This is a fake vitamin. This is a nefarious lie to the tune of convincing you over the $600 million engine that it runs on. $600 million. You can't say that's not a lot of money. You know, $600 million, that's jobs at stake. That's careers at stake. That's power positions at stake. That's a whole medical money stream at stake. You know, that's a lot of money, guys. But do we have any vegans in the house tonight? Anybody vegan in here? Raise your hand. If you're not vegan, that's awesome too. B12 is not vegan. Nope, it's not vegan. Bear with me. I'm going to capture a few more things before we start. We might just start now. We'll start doing some reading, and then this is kind of a quick chapter. but we're going to talk about the microbiome of a vulture tonight. And, one of the funny things is that after an animal dies, it's not like the bacteria goes on living. The animal dies. The animal's dead. So when they did this thing back in the 1940s with the raw cow's liver, they postured and posited that the bacteria was indeed and discovered to be helpful to people with pernicious anemia. Now, the bacteria is dead. The animal's dead. No. The answer is no. We full stop right there. But they sold this lie to the masses. They sold it to the medical community. They got indirectly. They got the collective, the medical patients on board. They got them brainwashed to believe it. We're not vultures. We're not supposed to eat meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. Vultures thrive off of dead animals, not humans. Not humans. Just a little side note I wanted to throw in there. You got some bad actors that are still posturing and saying that raw cow's liver actually contains B12 and have lamented that in shorts that they made referencing me. I mean, these people aren't even vegans. They're just egoic plant-basers that want attention. Look at me. Look at me. Look at what I know. No, dude. It's time to wake up and to stop being these people are not vegans that are going around defending this whole narrative. It's ridiculous. So let's talk about cobalt. Chapter 11 is called Cobalt, Arsenic, Cobalamin, and the Microbiome of the Vulture. So I've got 11 of you in here now. I'm just going to do a little bit of reading from the book. So in the last chapter, as you'll notice, we did touch on the 1942 to 1948 time frame, and how B12 just randomly, organically, just was discovered out of that window of time at the tail end. And we kind of crossed into chapter 11. So cobalt. All right. The next set of papers to be published was by the Glaxo team in the UK, with the Merck team publishing theirs just 2 weeks later. Remember, Glaxo and Merck were in tight collusion together when it came to building out this whole story of B12. They realized one was on one side of the pond, one was on the other. They realized that they were kind of at the epicenters of these areas where they could cover the world with this narrative once the potential got realized. Each company announced the red crystalline compound's very cozy connection with cobalt. Or one could even say its very colorful connection. Glaxo's paper was dated July 24th, 1948, and again authored by Lester E. Smith. Same guy, same individuals, just popping up here and there. It was published in the Nature journal entitled "The Presence of Cobalt in Anti-Pernicious Anemia Factor." It announced independent investigation here in the United States led to the recent isolation of the anti-pernicious anemia factor as red needle-shaped crystals. Examination of its ash has now unexpectedly revealed the presence of cobalt. So they're saying, oh my God, this vitamin, which we have all of a sudden come up with, architected and made up, oh my God, it happens to have red crystalline, elements to it. This is cobalt, but they deliberately put it in there. So they kind of retro position and now act like they're just seeing it. Does that say sus? That says sus. Welcome, Amy Nick. I love hamburgers. Okay. Stick around if you're interested in the lie of vitamin B12. Note the reference to the independent investigation, with Glaxo still insisting that the two companies had been working independently, which they were not. They were obviously working together. And then the statement that the cobalt had been unexpectedly revealed, and they deliberately put it in there. The cobalt, the cyanide, the cow's liver, it's all in there. It was deliberately architected as such. But now they're acting like, oh my God, this is a discovery. Just like all you vegans that say it was discovered. This is how they curated and painted that discovery. listen to your heart, okay? If you're looking for real information and you really want to know the truth. I mean, this is how it was discovered. They're saying this, and you can vet, just so you know, all the dates, people, times, happenings, anything that you read in this book, you can look it up online. I know you guys love looking online for all your objective information, but every single thing can be confirmed online. This is just compiling all the dates, people, happenings, situations into an easy to read transcript so you, vegan or non-vegan, can help you see over the nefarious, disgusting, just manipulative lie that B12 is. Okay. Merck had stated in its paper that a special process had been used to detect a chemical element. Emission spectrographic analysis of B12 has shown the presence of cobalt. You can't make this stuff up. Also known as flame photometry. This method utilizes flames or sparks to analyze the concentration of certain metal ions in an inorganic chemical structure. As early as 1550, applications assessing metallic characteristics based on the color of flames were used in the smelting of ores. So if Merck was stating that they deliberately used this method to ascertain what element the compound contained, how could it have been unexpectedly revealed? Exactly. I'm going to read that again. So if Merck was stating that they deliberately used this method to ascertain what element the compound contained, how could it have been unexpectedly revealed? Please let that sit in or steep a little bit. Let's see. Also, let's not forget that Merck had announced 4 months prior their wish to designate a name based on the chemical structure. As if such a thing was in the works or had even already been designated. It took all that time just to light a simple flame to find this all-important and crucial element, one that so many determining factors would be forever hinged upon. Oh, unbelievable. So cobalt is in the pill that you eat. Cobalt, lab-made cobalt, is not healthy for your body. It is just not healthy for your body. You don't need any kind of book or reference or teacher or peer-reviewed paper to tell you that. Just listen. I mean, do you think it's safe and right to put a chemical like cyanide into your body? How about an element like cobalt into your body? How about a bacteria that you literally have no idea where it hails from into your body? That's what all these vegans are defending. We'll touch on cobalt in a little bit. Do we have anybody in here? Take a little break. There's only a few of you in here. Hi, guys. I know there's only 5 of you in here, but are any of you guys curious or have any questions about the whole, notion of rejecting B12? I wanted to touch on something tonight, too, and mention it to you guys that I think it's a very important thing to understand. But anyway. I wanted to say that cobalt is blue or metallic, not red. Red crystalline compound, Shadow Knight, from what I understand. But what I wanted to lament was it took me a couple times to read the book. The first time I read the book, I still was so inundated with the message that, with the idea that B12 was an actual thing, that I didn't understand it fully. I had to read the book twice. And that, I think, is testament to the very keen, clever architecture of Merck and Friends and how they bolstered, built out, and full-sended this lie right into the stream. Took me twice. I had to read the book twice. The first time I read the book, I knew it was a lie, just from reading from all the collusion, the money, the quid pro quo that was going on, all the shady activity, the people, the places, the things, everything just said lie, lie, lie. And I could use my own intuition, not even halfway through the book, to realize the lie of vitamin B12. But I still considered it an actual vitamin. I still considered it is B12. B12 is just B12. And I thought after reading it the first time that it actually was still in the soil. And you would even see me, and I would make posts, I would tell people on the street, and say that, yeah, the actual OG B12 bacteria is in the soil. It's in root noduled soil. I actually thought that's where B12 was. But I'm bypassing the primary again. B12 doesn't even exist. It's a unicorn. It doesn't even exist. So when I postured with that to people, I was still, out of fallacy because it was granting it in existence. It doesn't exist. But I would say, yeah, it's in the soil. You get it from root noduled soil. Just eat beans, and you get all the B12 that you need. But I wouldn't say that. I think I was still keen enough or knowing enough to know that it shouldn't even be called B12. But I did think that the OG actual B12 was in the soil. And here's the thing. There's no B12 in the soil. But in the 1950s, they looked at soil, cyanobacteria, under a microscope, and they said, one sec. That's my acting like I'm looking at the microscope. This looks like our vitamin B12. Yes. This cyanobacteria is the closest thing that there is to our vitamin B12. This is what our vitamin B12 is. Essentially basing their pill off of the soil extract from cyanobacteria. You see how deceiving, you see the deception that looms there? The straight, just calculative deception. I don't know why you guys aren't getting mad. How are the vegans not getting mad over this? Because when I first went vegan and I learned about meat, cheese, milk, and eggs, and that I had been lied to by profit narratives for the majority of my life, and still the majority of my life, I was mad, guys. And I know you guys were too. I was really mad. And I held on to that anger for a while, and part of that anger bolstered me into to be an animal rights activist. I was sick of being suppressed and feeling like I was too nervous to say anything, and feeling like I shouldn't, and it's not my place. I let that anger just transcend all of these perceived limitations, And this is what we should do with this effing vitamin. Get mad. You have been lied to. You see that? One more time. B12 is not vegan. It is not vegan. And if you continue to eat the pill, you're not being a vegan. And you have been led to water, and you've been led to the information, but you're not doing better. When we know better, we do better. Then you're not a vegan. Did you see where virtue postmortems debunk? It doesn't matter. I mean, the case is closed. The case is closed, Zoid. There's nothing to talk about. What they do, there's not even worth talking to them. Virtue postmortem or Chip or any of the science guys. All those guys in that camp that I put that at the other day when I called all of them out. They bypass what's primary. All of them bypass what's primary. All of them. They say evidence. They've already lost. They've already lost when they say evidence. Because all evidence is shored up and furnished. It's all material. All evidence is shored up and furnished. And I'm going to go into this right here, this 1%, this whole idea of where all messagings initially hail from. And I think that's going to be helpful for you guys tonight. But yeah, essentially, we have to ask ourselves a question. I'll ask you guys in the chat. Are scientists funded? And it's a yes or no. Is research funded? And it's a yes or no. And I think we can all agree, and we all know that the answer is yes. Once we concede that yes, then evidence is no longer a valid reason, resource, reference for any kind of argument. I hope that makes sense. Why are, boy, Mr. Dog Vegan says, why are B12 in drugs not vegan? Okay. Well, since you brought that up, let's talk about evidence. So they ask, where's your evidence? They also ask, how do you know you're not wrong? Okay. Let's digress a little bit. We have something to keep in mind here, guys. This is called the 1% nexus right here. I put it up here, the 1% nexus. I put dollar signs right. This is the epicenter, really, of all things material. Okay, so 1/10,000% of the population, 1/10,000th of 1% of the population have all the wealth. There's about 8,000 individuals collectively that own all of the wealth on an all-effective basis, right? They have so much money and so much wealth and so much power that they can effectively create narratives, and they can effectively control furnished material information outputs. I'll say it again. They can effectively control furnished material information outputs. Now, what that means is when you look online, when you look at a peer-reviewed study, when you look at any study that's not peer-reviewed, when you look into the halls of academia, when you look at any book, any tome, anything that you'll see in this material world, they have the ability to control the output of all of these things. They effectively control all the material information. They can furnish all the material information, and they do furnish it, and they make sure everything's in line along these three lines: science, academia, and definitely industry. And that's actually an easy one. But they make sure that scientific papers are saying what they want the scientific papers to say. And once again, I'll go back and I'll ask that same question. Is research funded? Are scientists funded? Is the fostered and affected output and evidence funded? The answer is yes. And at that yes, you are now arguing from crumbles when you are arguing for the validity of vitamin B12. I hope that makes sense. So we started here realizing that about 8,000 individuals hold all of the wealth. It's effectively 1/10,000th of 1% of the population hold all of the wealth, right? And wealth translates to power. Power translates to control. So that's in turn where their window dressing of material information hails from. What's up, Rye? What's going on? Yes, like and subscribe. Ryan, how's it going? Welcome to Minion. And then I got Alex and Plushies, like and subscribe. Dang! Okay, everyone's pumping me tonight. All right, thank you. And thank you for being here, Alex and Plushies. Okay, wasn't worth watching. 4.5 hours spent on just watching. And they don't know. They don't know. They haven't really read the book. Their bias eclipses all things. So even if they read the book, they're doing all this thing with their little things they like to say. They like to say, oh, it's a whatever fallacy. It's an appeal to this. It's an ad hominem. Oh, all this dogmatic argument jargon that's been built out. They love using that because it makes them feel special. It makes them feel smart even. But guys, it's dumb as shit what you're doing and what you're saying. I hate to be the sobering voice, but it's dumb as shit what you're doing, and you're not being vegan. Okay, all you science atheists, plant-basers, because I can't call you vegans. You're not being vegan. You're supporting systems of violence. B12 and the whole gamut underneath is a system of violence. And as vegans, we are compassionate and we operate out of love. Oh, thanks, Ryan, for that plug. Appreciate that. Alex says, like and subscribe in caps. Let's go. Yeah. So and I would, yeah. So I was going through chapter 11, I believe. We got about halfway through. We were working on the cobalt, talking about cobalt a little bit and how they deliberately put it in there, and then all of a sudden they unexpectedly were reveling in its uncanny abilities and aesthetics. So they deliberately put it in there, and then they discovered it after that. So that's the discovery that all you pro B12ers are referencing. I hope you know that. Yeah, last time I checked, vivisection's not vegan. To any vegans that are in here and that are anti-B12 curious, vivisection, if you don't know what it is, they take animals and they torture them. They torture them for the sake of testing products. It's very not nice. And as vegans, we're called to boycott these systems. So, hope that's helpful. Look up vivisection though. It's not a nice thing. It's nothing I wouldn't be involved in. Oh yeah, they called it invented in their patent. Okay, oh wow. And they still test B12. And I'm pretty sure they still test B12 on rats too. Yeah, so newcomers, like and subscribe. Any vegan curious people in here, keep in mind B12 is not vegan. It is not vegan. So if you're continuing to eat B12 and you know better, or you've been led to water, you're not being a vegan. You are being plant-based. Who am I? I'm just a vegan of 13 years, pretty consistent animal rights activist. I consider myself just always in progress, learning and just finding truth. That's my MO in life, is to find truth. I want to dig deeper. I don't care about effing money. I could care less. That's a whole nother narrative, deception, whatever. My message comes from wanting to uncover lies, wanting to share with you. You're going to experience other bad actors online that are just blinded by science. They probably work in science. They somehow benefit from science. And the Upton Sinclair quote comes to mind: "You will never convince a man of something when his income depends on him not being convinced." And I know I butchered that a little bit, but you can't go to these guys that call themselves vegans and they worship at the altar of science. That you cannot do it. Oh, okay. Thank you, Ryan. There it is, big dollars, blinded by the money. Thank you, Dominion. And thank you, Alex, for that. That's amazing. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Alex. All right, so let's touch on this real quick. The 1% nexus. So nexus meaning like the hub, the headquarters, the epicenter, right? The 1% of the 1% of the population that effectively hold all of the other wealth, like all of the wealth combined, or that have more than everybody else combined times 2. So if that makes sense. They have all that money, and that money directly translates to power, and then that directly translates to control. So what they can effectively do is just proliferate their tentacles out, right? And they go to science, they go to academia, they go to industry, and they make sure, and they have the ability to do this. They have so much money, they have the effective ability to do this. They make sure that furnished material information has the exact output that they want it to have. So I'll say it again. They make sure that all furnished material information, which they are furnishing and they are window dressing, has and holds the exact information that they want to present, and they want your eyes, the public's eyes, to see. And they can do that. So they go to science, peer review, medical journals, you name it. They scientific papers, research. They go to academia. They go to industry, and then we trickle down here. And then what is the absolute output of this whole machine is the furnished material information on the internet, in academia, in peer review, everywhere. You could call this a conspiracy, or you can just call it looking at the money, looking from the money. So use your intuition, use your common sense, everybody. But yeah, so we're going to get a little bit more. I'm going to read a little bit more from this chapter on cobalt. If anybody has any questions, any vegan or kind of like B12 rejecting curious vegans in here, please ask. You know, I can help you answer that, and we definitely have some people in the chat that can help you answer that. But yeah, I wanted to touch on again, maybe before I finish out this chapter, that I was thinking today on the way home while I was just driving earlier from activism, actually. I was thinking about how convincing the whole B12 narrative really is and how it got me. I read this book, I've read it twice now. Even after the first time I read it, and this is also, I think back to when I was first exposed to Gary Yourofsky's speech, when he said that the greatest speech ever at the Georgia Tech. I heard it, listened to it, absorbed it the first time, and rejected it immediately afterwards until, you know, a week later something called to me to watch it again. But I read the book the first time, and about a quarter of the way through, I was like, dang. By the way, you guys have to read the book. All this is a history book, essentially, that points to people, places, and things, bad actors, shady collusion, shady activity, all kinds of manipulation that has been exacted by Merck and Pfizer and all these players that came up with the B12 lie. All it does is chronicle and timeline out basically the history from 1822 all the way up till present day. Make it easy for you, the reader, to see over the lie. And you can look up and confirm every single bit of information in this book using the internet if you like. So many of you guys just go to the internet for all your truths, but you can actually vet it, and all the information is there. It's history. It's very hard to conflate. It is there on the internet. Read this book, check this book out. This is going to illuminate you to the very much so nefarious lie of vitamin B12, and it will also point that B12 is not vegan. It is not vegan. But I was reading the book, or I went through the book for the first time. The first quarter of the book, I knew that it was this is shady. My intuition told me already, this is a lie. I can't wait to finish this book now. This is going to be really, I need to know what's going on here. But still, even so, after the first time I read the book, I still considered B12 B12. I still considered it a thing. I couldn't not see it as an actual thing. So I was thinking that the actual B12 was the cyanobacteria pointed to in the book, and I'll amplify on that in a second. I thought that was still called B12, and that's what B12 was. It was in the soil, in the root nodule, vessels. But I was wrong. But I would tell people on the street, yeah, just eat root noduled, vegetables like legumes. I would tell people in the chat and the post, and like in retrospect, it probably was still pretty accurate, right? It was still pretty accurate, like what I was generally conveying on a real basis. But in my head, I still couldn't lose the fact that B12 is not a thing. It's fake. It doesn't exist. It doesn't. I'm already bypassing things when I'm saying B12's in the soil. You're already bypassing the primary. You're not seeing something when you're calling it B12 right off the bat. So after I guess I was reading it the second time, it really clicked that it's just cyanobacteria that they looked at under a microscope in the 1950s, and all of a sudden did that thing where they're acting surprised. This looks a lot like the vitamin B12 right here. Very similar. This is the archetype. And that is a real testament to the keen, clever deception that has all been orchestrated, all for the sake of big money, profits, power. Right? Yeah, it's not cyanobacteria. But like, I was just thinking about how I was really convinced. I just had it in my head that, yeah, B12 is still a thing. Even after reading through the book the first time, I think I still had that recessed in my head. I mean, it took me 2 times to be able to more so look at the book and see its truths more crystal clear. That's a testament to how well thought out, how deceptive, and how keen and clever this lie has been built out. Really crazy. using raw cow's liver bacteria, right? Yeah, and then you got certain doctors that are saying that, lamenting its authenticity of how that it actually was, there was an anti-pernicious factor in the raw cow's liver. Wow, false. That was made up too. They just look for other parts of the cow that they can harvest and monetize, and raw cow's liver seemed to fit the bill. And then they made up this whole story. It's all lies. It's all lies. Incredible. Okay, so let me see if I can finish out the reading here. What did I get to? Oh, I like how Anthea points to the folklore of Cobalt too, with the kobolds, meaning goblin. I mean, I'll tell you, this book, guys, you have to read it. You need to get yourself a copy of The Enigma of Vitamin B12, Nature's Only Mistake. It is entertaining. It's also very engaging, and it's a book that every serious vegan, I know goblins, every serious vegan, actual vegan, I'll just say every actual vegan really needs to read. Don't listen to the tribe. I made that video earlier on in the week about this whole tribalism thing going on. I know you have your favorite activists, you have the people you've been following. Listen, they don't give a shit about you, okay? They don't give a shit about you seeing the truth or not. They're gonna be blinded by their whatever, and they have no interest in helping you see over lies, because they're sticking to their line of view. They're on this, whatever trajectory that they are on, they're not seeing over the lie right now. So it's up to you, and I'm looking at you who might be in here right now and a little curious about this and just wants to hear a little bit more. Listen to yourself. Don't listen to these bad actors, guys. These guys aren't even vegans. These guys are not even vegans. I'll say it again. They're not even vegans. These atheist, science, plant-based mandating people that are going out there and just somehow fusing all these things like they all belong together. They're not even vegans. So use your individual intuition and see over it. So she talks about the folklore and how, crazy the historical, or how crazy some of the, folklore is regarding cobalt and the root of the word. It came from the German word cobalt, from kobold, meaning goblin, a superstitious term used by miners for the ores of cobalt. There were fables and tales of the greedy, ill-intentioned, and criminally minded goblins who often used trickery to achieve their goals, and who stole silver from the mines that contained cobalt. It's crazy. And we're worshiping at the altar of cobalt when we are worshiping B12. So although the German miners considered cobalt to be a worthless metal, it would now and forevermore be hailed as an extraordinarily invaluable one in the newly defined relationship with vitamin B12. Quite the miraculous transformation from health-damaging poison to essential nutrient. All in all, the wording and timing certainly make the whole cobalt connection an unexpected discovery less than credible, especially with such a curious history. Its past failure as a treatment for anemia because of deleterious side effects, its association with poison, the tales of mischievous and malevolent creatures up to no good. One could say that cobalt being discovered within the red crystalline compound was akin to someone feigning surprise to find socks they themselves had placed in the sock drawer. Now, how on earth did those get there? But how convenient that it was just the pair we were looking for. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Merck's paper appeared on August 6, 1948 in volume 108, number 2797 of the Science Journal. It was authored by the same gang of usual suspects. Edward Ricks, and if you've been coming to these live streams, you've heard these names. Edward Ricks, Norman G. Brink, Frank Coniuzzi, probably said that wrong, Thomas R. Wood, Carl Folkers. It was entitled Vitamin B12, a Cobalt Complex. And goes on to amplify on the papers a little bit. Yeah. The introduction of cobalt will bring another word into the equation a few years later, in 1956 to be exact, cobalamin. A portmanteau created by the fusing of the words cobalt and vitamin. So when you see cobalamin on the other side of the pill, I think next one I'm gonna bring, we're gonna look at the back side of it. We're gonna talk about a few things. I have the one that I used to take still up there. So I'll bring it down, we'll show you guys the label. We'll show you what they purposely omit, and we'll show you what it does signal. And we'll even show you that it says vegan on there. It's like incredible. We'll do that in the next one. So cobalamin, when you see that on the back of your B12 pill, that means cobalt and vitamin. And don't forget the preface, don't forget the cyanide. An Oxford academic nutrition review entitled Vitamin B12 in Meat and Dairy Products, published in 2015, defined B12 as a chemical compound with vitamin properties, referring to cobalt as a central atom in a corrin ring that encloses the metal atom. In contrast, the National Library of Medicine describes B12 as an essential nutrient derived exclusively from bacterial sources and microorganisms, while Wikipedia claims it's a water-soluble vitamin involved in metabolism. All in all, the term cobalamin would soon become synonymous with B12, defined in Merriam-Webster as simply vitamin B12. So all the people titling it, giving it credence, giving it an objective kind of notion, it's all organizations, guys. All organizations, internet groups. We defer back here. We realize that the nexus is where all furnished information hails from, right? And we realize that all information ubiquitously around us on the internet and books, everything regarding science, academia, and industry is all shored up by this 1% of 1%. And then it all trickles down and expresses to us in those vessels. We have to understand that. And we use our intuition to discern what is a lie and what is truth. So we have a book like this one. So let's take a look here. The book, The Enigma of Vitamin B12, Nature's Only Mistake, written by Anthea V. Hayes, is a book written by a vegan of multi-decades, an ethical vegan, who has gone out of her way to simply compile information and to make it easy for you, the reader, to use your intuition to see lie versus truth. And I'll tell you, you read the book, you'll know it's a lie. The only thing she does without bias is compile information. People, places, things, happenings, collusions, shady activity, the actual genesis historically from 1822, and timelines all the way out till now. It's just a compilation. And all we're trying to do here is lead vegans to water. And I think it's been about 7 months since I started this endeavor trying to tell you guys. So time's up, and the case is closed. There's no arguing this. Somebody wanted to come in to debate tonight. I mean, I don't see them anywhere, by the way. I don't know if you're listening, if you're in the back, in the rafters. I mean, and I told them, that's fine. You can come on in and, I'll see if I can get you on. But it's not a debate. I mean, I'll have a conversation with you. I even told them, and if you get emotional, I'm going to kick you out. It just needs to be a conversation, I think next week I'll be back up at the hub. So I want to show you guys a video next week that has to do with the placebo effect. I think that's going to be a really, really cool video to watch. Yeah, where is that person? Critter, we're looking for you. Calling you out. I don't see you. It's okay. And you can come in here, and honestly, I don't know, with this live stream setup, I'm looking at this right now. If you're here, I can figure out how to bring you on. I just don't know how I would do it with this vertical setup. I know how to do it up there. By the way, anybody that wants to come to the live streams, next week I'll probably be back up at my hub in my apartment, and I float links up for anybody that wants a conversation. I mean, you just talk. If you want a live conversation, but don't come in here like a 5-year-old and want to just yell and debate. Like I said, the debate's over. There's no debating. This case is closed and we're moving on. But we're going to keep doing these every single week while the lie is still bought into at the animals' expense, at our fellow vegans' expense, at everybody's expense. We're going to keep doing these. We're going to hold the line here. It's just what this point in time calls for. So, but yeah, so we're going to look at a video next week on the placebo effect. and really show everybody how potent and powerful the placebo effect really is. It is a powerful thing, powerful. Here's a few things right off the bat that you're going to hear when you hear about the whole B12 dynamics. You're going to hear people say, oh, but I got, prescribed this, I started taking B12 and I started feeling great again. All my symptoms went away. You're going to hear that. You're going to hear, let's see, what else are you going to hear? Yeah, about basically how you get tested low and then you take it and then all of a sudden your B12 levels are great and you're feeling good again. You're going to hear that. People saying all kinds of things about, numbness and tingling and lightheadedness, and how when they didn't take B12, they felt like a sense of not being with it, cloudy thoughts and stuff like that. It's all lies. It's all just a bunch of bullshit. It's all deceptive lies. And there's so many anecdotes, right? There's so many anecdotes that go along with it as well. But there's a lot of friction, and there's a 99% kind of collectively inertia effect that is pro the B12 narrative. And you have to take that into account too. I mean, we're looking at $600 million a year that's underneath this thing. That's an engine. That's an engine that it has a vested interest in keeping that 99% factor, So one other thing to keep in mind is these tests can be manipulated. They can be engineered. The people that come up with the tests are actually the drug companies themselves. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you guys? The actual B12 sellers come up with the tests. Doesn't sound very ethical, but that's how it is. That's just how it is. There's just many things to take into account, but everything can be addressed if you have an open mind on the other end, if the person has an open mind. If you don't have an open mind, you will default back to evidence, 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 and hopefully I've made it clear as far as the whole evidence thing and how that whole notion of evidence, once you're leaning into it and referencing it and using it as your kind of weapon, so to speak, to be right, you've already lost. You've lost before you've even begun, because you've bypassed the primary kind of genesis of all material information, and that's that it's furnished, and that's that it's window dressed, and that's that it hails from this nexus factor right here that we touched on earlier. So we don't look to authorities for our information. We don't look to furnished information that is ubiquitous on the internet and books and academia and science. We look inwards and we realize what's a lie and what's the truth. Ahimsa, nice to see you, Ahimsa. What's going on? Most people who make an appointment to see the doctor, their cold or tingling is usually gone by the time they see the doctor drug giver. Yeah, so true, right? So true. And all these things just heal. The human body, this body is amazing. You don't need to go to a freaking doctor. You don't need to do it unless you literally have gotten into a car accident or something crazy. But the human body is this beautiful, intuitive, amazing, benevolent, compassionately made vessel which heals on its own, and it doesn't need to go into these systems. The second you walk into this system, the system of the medical pharmaceutical complex, you're going down a deep, dark path that just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and you hurt yourself more, you hurt your sovereignty more, you start just really losing yourself, unfortunately. Yeah, only see a doctor for emergency or accident. Exactly, when you absolutely have to. And 99% of the time, you'll never have to do that. But they can't have that realization going on because they need to get paid, and pharma needs to get paid. B12 needs to get paid. Come on now, $600 million a year. I'm gonna go for about an hour, guys. Who has any anti-B12 curious people in here that have any questions? I pretty much got through what I wanted to of the chapter. I'm sorry I didn't do my due diligence with this chapter and really kind of underline stuff, highlight stuff like I had done with the previous ones. But it's a shorter chapter, I think. Oh, the Hope Diamond, that's great. And later on in the chapter, we talk about, Anthea talks about vultures and the microbiome of vultures. Dog says, can I earn $600 million a year? I don't know, dude. Okay. Yeah, so, and I think there's some great points mentioned here with the vultures. Let me see if I can find what I think she points at too in this chapter. Incredible. Oh, here's a good one. Okay, this is a good way to start. We'll finish out the reading with this kind of notion that she presents right here about vultures and how, we're not supposed to be eating like vultures. Okay. Yeah, exactly. They're meant to do that, not us. There is no, yeah, exactly. Yet still, somehow the vitamin B12 bacteria is still just pumping alive and thriving in that dead cow's liver for God knows how long it's been dead for. But the second somebody takes it, sure, that the bacteria is apparently still living in there for that said patient. And some doctors back this notion. I can't believe it. Some doctors lament the authenticity of this notion. It's unbelievable. Cough, cough, we know who that is. Okay, since the entire premise of vitamin B12 and the key to its absorption is via the consumption of animal products in order to obtain special bacteria, some pivotal questions need to be asked. Can dead bodies in a lifeless state of decay provide beneficial bacteria to those consuming them? Or does the good bacteria only exist for the benefit of the living body it resides in, leaving only the harmful bacteria behind to proliferate when life ceases? To answer those questions properly, one must first understand what happens to a corpse undergoing decomposition. Immediately upon death, toxin-secreting gut bacteria, like the highly potent neurotoxic protein produced by Clostridium class of microbes, begin to spread throughout the organs of the body. Or otherwise preserved. All life processes Sorry guys, I'm having some technical issues. Person is blowing me up. Is it better now? Are we back? We're good? Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Let's hope they don't call again. So we're talking about how the bad bacteria proliferates through the body. Even if the cadaver is refrigerated or otherwise preserved, all life processes required to sustain the good bacteria that once thrived in its